Captain's Log 120326. Um, Tonight, I want to talk about every young tradesman's favorite topic, and that topic is women. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about some dating advice from somebody who's been through it all, and yeah, somebody's got a pretty good grasp on what's going on out there. Um, yeah, so for young dudes getting in the trades, um, yeah, they're often like every other young man, they're enamored with women. Sometimes too much, where they're not thinking about their job. um, but yeah, there's all kinds of things to learn there. Um, so yeah, let's get into it. So as a young dude, you know, oftentimes you're basically thinking about one thing on your mind all the time. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you won't learn from your parents. You won't learn from your teachers or anything like that. And back when I was starting out, um, we didn't have all the content and everything we have nowadays. So you'd get whatever advice everybody was telling you. Maybe some boomer was telling you, and well, life's not the same as it was when they were going through it. I'm sure it's even different than when I was younger, even now. But I'm pretty sure I have a pretty good grasp on what's happening now as well. So yeah, so basically, you know, if you get in the trades, you're a young dude out of high school. Maybe you're the chicks that you're talking to. They're either maybe your high school sweetheart, or they're college girls, whatever. And what ends up happening is there's this disparity, because you're starting your life and you have a good job and a career, and that kind of builds you up, and you're up here, you have money, um you know you have a bit of responsibility in some way, and that's ups your cool factor. So in some ways, right, maybe you got a truck, maybe you got a cool car, whatever. Um so that can obviously help with the dating scene, and getting a girlfriend and whatever. um but what happens is guys will I think guys just get that little bit of attention, and then they're just like they're all in all at once. So, you know, it's basically, well, this chick likes me. Uh, I'm gonna buy her everything. I'm gonna take her on vacation. We're gonna start a family and all this stuff. And uh, what ends up happening is, after a little bit, she ends up going through college or whatever, um, gets a job of her own, ends up getting bored of you, and is ready to move on to something else. Um, and that has to do with a lot of things, like not holding frame, and not worrying about improving your situation, things like that. But yeah, nowadays it's not the same as when our parents were young, right? When our parents were young, there was a bit of societal pressure to get married, buy a house, have kids, all that stuff, right? And there wasn't this idea of, you know, going out and finding yourself, and all this other, whatever. Womanese speak for hey, I'm bored and I want something else. So, the young dudes got to watch themselves, right? Uh, and it's shitty because what happens is, these guys will be making money. They'll pay for a house and do all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, the feelings change, and you just spent the first little bit of your adult life grinding for something. Maybe your best years, maybe something you're like they're supposed to be like your most fun years were spent in this grind, and she doesn't even respect you. um she's using you basically. She doesn't know it, but in the end that's what happens. And Yeah, it's sad. And like, if I had like one piece of advice for young dudes, any young guy, but especially guys in the trades, is wait. Like, you can always wait till you're older. And uh just because like the chicks that you're seeing in high school and college and whatever, uh you don't have to date them. You can wait, and in the next 3 years there'll be a whole nother batch of girls going through college or whatever, and maybe you can date them instead. uh and it's, yeah, like, especially nowadays, it's not worth grinding and putting all this work into that. And when people have the mentality of like, oh, I deserve better. Women will think I deserve to go out and find myself and whatever. Chicks don't really care about how much effort you put in and all that. They care about what is, what's the end result, right? Um, so knowing all that, and like, there's lots of information on this on the internet, but knowing all that, then you got to think your best time spent should be putting effort into yourself and improving and all that stuff, so that you don't have to worry about, you know so and so is the only chick that's interested in me, so I have to put everything into that. You can, develop social circles, develop your finances, you know build a body in the gym, um, all those things, travel, all that stuff. And and women will come. If you build it, they will come. And you don't have to go around chasing and thinking that, okay, well, this is the only thing. Because if you do, that's when you get basically burned. um and it's not going to end well. So, yeah, like, yeah, I wish more young dudes would learn that earlier. There's so much stuff to learn on this, like the whole, you know getting red pilled, because basically you will. Basically every young dude at some point. Hopefully it happens, you know, earlier, if you can, but you kind of get like your eyes opened up to the reality of life and the reality of human nature and all these things. I'm sure everybody's heard of the term hypergamy, um, and what that implies, and just human nature. um, and yeah, we're basically, we evolved in a certain way, and we're these, monkeys trying to live in the future. And it's just the way it is. So there's lots of stuff like that you need to know before you jump headfirst into that kind of interaction. um Especially nowadays. Like, nowadays, it's so much riskier. It's so risky. Like, you know when our parents grew up, they didn't have um, they didn't have to deal with the things that we have. They didn't have social media. They didn't have like friggin' OnlyFans, the Me Too movement, all this other bullshit. Like they didn't have any of that. They didn't have to worry about that. They could marry their high school sweetheart, buy a house and settle down. And even a bunch of them eventually got burned, got divorced, got cheated on, all that shit. Because you just didn't have the information. We're all trying to blindly live through, you know, this modern life. Um, so yeah, it's good to know. It's good to like, hey, sit down and learn these things. And the first thing that you need to learn is yeah, like build yourself. Before you think about even um, whatever, talking to girls and all this stuff. Think about like yourself and yourself as an asset. And hey, I have to build and protect this thing, and that can take a little bit of time, or maybe it doesn't take too much time for you, but for most young dudes it does, because you're not making as much money as you will eventually, but you're making a bit of money. This goes for your friends too. Like don't be blowing wads of cash at the bar for no reason, just to try to look cool and shit like that, right? um so yeah, like my advice, figure out, whatever it is, gym membership, any of that kind of stuff. Figure out your finances. Sit down and think, okay, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to invest? Do I want to buy a place and rent it, or whatever you want to do? That, like, figure that stuff out. um and then start working on your social skills. And these are things that are going to like improve you. Build hobbies. Like, guys don't really understand, but uh chicks don't usually have too many hobbies. They kind of rely on, whatever you're doing. They expect you to keep things fun and exciting. So if you don't have anything going on, they're going to be bored, right? uh they're not all that exciting themselves. So so you gotta have some hobbies, and curate that, right? So yeah, start with yourself, start doing that. And then, when you start branching out and talking to people, um treat things like it's, everything's just practice, 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 practice. You want to go talk to chicks, go talk to chicks. Who cares, right? Like, who cares where it ends up? Because like I said, the girls you're talking to when you're young, the ones that you're like right now, the ones that you're talking to, like, let's say you're 21 years old, you're whatever, um second or third year apprentice. The girls that you're talking to right now might not be the girls that you end up dating and marrying. It might be, chicks that are when you're 25 that they're 22, whatever, right? And honestly, the ones that are your age, like, there's a whole generation of women right now that probably aren't even worth talking to anyway. So like, half the chicks my age, half the chicks, whatever, they're not even worth dealing with. So it's better, like, build those skills and practice on them, and just think of it as practice. You don't have to like go home with these girls. You don't have to date them. Don't spend money. Just work on talking and build like friendships and stuff. And that'll take you further than anything else. And then, speaking of friends, you want to curate a good friend group. And maybe it's a bunch of friend groups, maybe it's whatever, but um, Mike Sartain, who is like, he does like dating stuff, a bit of evolutionary biology and all that stuff. Anyways, he's on YouTube and X and all those things. The way he calls it is social circle. He calls it social circle game, meaning you're building and curating a social circle, which is a hard thing to say apparently. And you're building this so that you can meet more girls and whatever, and your dating life becomes better. So, and that's so true. Like, if you are able to, friend zone some girls, whatever, and like you open up a whole bunch of doors to meeting other people. The more people you know, the more people you end up knowing after, because you open all these extra doors, right? And I can think back to like when I was younger, the dudes that were the dudes that had like an easy time with chicks were usually guys that had like, always had like friends that were girls hanging around, and then they would meet friends of friends and whatever, and they'd always be around these people. And that's not to say that you don't curate your like guy friends, because that's obviously in the end going to be more important. Having a good group of guys that have your back, like your tribe, basically. But if you want to like, meet more girls, which is what young dudes want, so that's the way to do it. And then like, so the next step is, you got your own shit going on. You've you know figured out your finances. You figured out your exercise routine, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Now you have social circle. You got a bunch of friends, and maybe you got some hobbies that you like. Now the next thing is, let's say you meet someone you like. Um, Seems like it's going well. Things are good. You really have to be careful and vet these people properly, because a lot of stuff can be hidden, at the very start, especially when if you're like, especially if you feel like you're maybe a little bit enamored with this person, you really like them. It can hide a lot of bad shit. And people are going to pressure you, like, especially parents and older people. Like, people are going to say, well, you're not getting any younger, and hey, we want grandkids, and like whatever, like that kind of shit. uh I can promise you, they can wait for grandkids, and it's not worth losing, your house and shit over. So you really got to vet these people properly. And then now, getting into the serious stuff, when you get in a relationship, uh, you really have to hold frame. And frame is basically, I wish I had my rational mail book, because I would read off Rollo's description of frame, but because he does it really well. But frame is like basically uh, your um, the first thing you think about. Like, are you thinking about, okay, well, I need to make this person happy. I need to do this. I need to do that, so that so and so likes me better. Or are you thinking about, okay, well, what do I need to do today? Like, what's my duty? What do I need to do for me? That kind of stuff. And like taking care of the shit you need to take care of. Um, because you're gonna have stuff you have to take care of as a man. It's just the way it is. Like, you should be exercising. You should be going to work, doing a good job, working on your finances, and all that stuff. Working on your hobbies. Like, these are things, again, all those things that you initially started working on, like, that has to stay in your life. That has to be, prioritized, so that you are, you know continuing to curate that stuff. um because that's, in the end, that's the important shit, right? That's, maybe why she was even with you in the first place. So there's that. And then there's the, like, again, if you vet somebody properly, you need to make sure that you don't pick people who are in it for the wrong reasons. You still need to protect yourself in some way. You still need to, like young guys in the trades, you're gonna hopefully make, a decent amount of money. You're gonna have a whole bunch of skills. You're gonna be able to, there's a lot of guys, and myself included, uh, able to, buy a house. Like I think I bought mine first house when I was 22, something like that. Renovate it. You got your buddies who are in the trades. Maybe they're in different trades, and you guys get together, and it doesn't cost hardly anything to renovate a house, and you can do all this stuff and set your life up, and that can all be taken away from you, with like poor choices in women. So you really got to watch that, and you really got to be careful and like notice the signs. So like guys, uh, you have to be ruthless, and sometimes you have to be like, you have to see things before they happen. You have to, detach. Like that's a huge one. Just detach all the time and be like, hey, am I missing something here? Like, why are we arguing all the time? Why are we, whatever? Why is she all of a sudden going to the gym, uh, when she never used to go to the gym? Whatever. Why is she constantly bugging me about whatever? Those are, you know signs. If you're picking up, if it feels, your intuition's picking up on something, it's probably for a reason. You should figure that out and make sure that your shit's good. Make sure that your, fitness is always good, that your finances are always good, and that kind of stuff, so that you're good to go. Because it's not like it was back in the day when our parents, would get together, and there wasn't, society didn't say, yeah, you go girl, find yourself, or all that shit. They'd shame people for, not being together. So it's just different. It's totally different nowadays. And yeah, and honestly, like, you're not going to look back and be like, oh, I really should have dated, whatever, Mary Beth, because I really missed out on those 3 years I would have had with her, right? No, you're gonna be like, dude, I wish I would have went to, Spain with the boys. I wish I would have got to see whatever. Like, I wish I would have played sports longer. I wish, there's all these things. I wish I would have went fishing. Like all this shit you're gonna look back, and if you don't take time to do it, and instead you're just like dealing with some like annoying, biatch the whole time in your 20s and whatever, like you're gonna be looking back with regret, and honestly you don't want to do that. So, you got a lot of time, especially as a man. You have a lot of time to, you know settle down later on in your 30s and whatever. Chicks aren't even really that interested in you when you're younger. uh can think back, like, I was a bit of a playboy when I was when I was a young dude, uh, and they were interested in me, but for the wrong reasons. And I never learned like this stuff until I was, in my 30s. Um, and by that time, all of a sudden now you have like dating apps and all this stuff, and stay off the dating apps, like they're garbage. But yeah, you just, oh, it's total different world. And I wish I would have, like, you know slowed down when I was younger. And obviously looking back is tough, but you always have 2020 looking back, right? But yeah, if I can give like advice, just slow down, you know, talk to a bunch of girls. And I know you're going to be, you know, you're young, dumb, and full of whatever. And you're, and you're, you know, you want to meet all the girls and you want to do all this stuff, but like, you got a lot of time. And if you can figure out and control that and funnel that energy into productive stuff, you're going to look back and be like super happy with how your life turns out. um because that's it. Like everything in life is some form of energy transfer. And you're you're gonna be far better off if you put that energy into, you know, your own projects, into your own buddies, like your friends and stuff, and making, you know, new friends and playing sports and all that. Going to the gym, you know. Just give you an example of what I mean by that. So you could spend 3 years, you know, with somebody who's constantly nagging you and bitching and complaining, and you know, like it doesn't matter how good, you know, you're doing, how whatever. Like you might be in a really good position for a 22-year-old, and you're still gonna get like the shit. You're still gonna get, uh, you know, somebody. She's gonna be upset about something, and you don't have to deal with that. Like, why? Why, as a young dude, you know, you really don't have to deal with that. There's no point. Like, you could just go hang out with your buddies. You could go fishing. You could, like, imagine the energy it takes to sit and like and have these conversations about whatever, you know, whatever stuff, feelings and shit. And they could go for hours, and they go all into the night, and you get up tired for work and all. Like, you know, I was up till 12 o'clock last night because, you know, so and so was upset that, you know, I put the thing in the wrong spot. Like, can you imagine? uh and I don't, like, you don't have to. I don't have to, because I've been there. It's like, looking back, I'm like, what the fuck was I doing? uh what is the point of that, when I could have been like hitting the gym? Like, the amount of energy it took, that, why not be tired because I did a wicked workout? Or why not be tired because I went and played hockey, right? It's just not worth it. It's totally different. Like, the women in the West now are just like, it's a total different ball game than when our parents were doing this. And uh yeah, it's, you know, as a young trades dude, you gotta like protect your energy and protect your finances and everything, because yeah, it's rough out there for dudes. um you know, and most of you guys are basically invisible to women anyways, you know. Like, 80, you know, this is, I mean, this is butchered all the time too, this whole thing, and I hope I get it right. But uh oh, what was that show? There was some stupid show on Netflix, and the kid goes, says something about the 80-20 rule, which is, you know, it's not correct what he said. But like 80% of dudes are actually basically, you know, invisible to women. You know, as in like strangers, as in like, if a woman is walking down the street, you know, you might notice her and think she's cute and whatever, but she probably won't even notice you. um and then, you know, there's a certain percentage of dudes who you know, they're not ugly and invisible, but they're not like, chicks don't, you know, fawn over them. And then there's like this 0.00 whatever percent that, you know, the Henry Cavills of the world, that chicks are like, you know, fawning over and all about. And you know, they think in their mind that they are settling for you, half of them, right? Like they think, oh, well, I can't find, whatever, but this guy, and then they are looking at social media, like half of them are on social media and all this stuff, and they're seeing whatever these other chicks are getting. Oh, she's getting, she gets to go on a boat, she gets whatever, and like they're treating you like shit, even though you're out there like making a dent in the world and like, you know getting your apprenticeship done and all this shit, you buying a house, like you're doing this stuff, you're doing the thing, right? And you don't deserve that. You you need to know your worth in that way, you know and that's why it's more important to put your energy into things that matter. And you can, again, build a social circle and talk to a whole bunch of girls as friends, and then see if there's, so and so, oh yeah, yeah, like we hit it off, we really got something going, cool, okay, I might pursue this. Or it's nothing, like, but I have all these other prospects right now. And then, like, when you do move into like other things and get further involved with chicks, like, you really have to set boundaries. And you got to set boundaries on yourself, like what you're not going to tolerate, and set boundaries with them, and what you are and aren't going to tolerate with them as well. And stick to them. Like again, don't waste your energy and your life on somebody who's not going to respect you. Because if somebody doesn't respect your boundaries, they don't respect you. And it's as simple as that. um yeah, it's just, again, like, move on. It's There's, billions of women out there, um and you don't need to be with one who's going to disrespect you, in any way, really. um yeah, just be smart. But yeah, the first thing you got to know is, like, you got time, and you got to you know you got time for women, but you don't have as much time for the things in life that are actually important. And then you're going to realize that, like, once you start getting older, you're going to realize, oh, I wish I would have spent more time with, whatever, your buddies, your parents, your dog, your out fishing, whatever, traveling, that kind of stuff. And these are all things that, it's always okay for society to tell women, oh yeah, go have fun and go whatever, you do you, whatever, you go girl. But as soon as you tell a young dude you're the devil, so, which is fine. You guys can hate on me all you want, but I'm out here trying to save dudes from making mistakes, especially young trades guys, young construction guys that, they're out here busting their ass. They're getting up at 6 o'clock, or getting to the job site at 6 o'clock, and putting in the work, putting in those 12-hour shifts, uh, putting in the overtime, going on emergency calls, and they don't deserve to be treated like shit. They don't deserve to be disrespected. They do deserve to know the truth. They Guys, like, go look at red pill content, go down the rabbit hole, read books like The Rational Male, read Rich Cooper's book, um, you know, all those things. Like, I DM me or whatever, message me, and I'll give you a whole list of books to read, because this stuff's actually important. A lot of guys, when you look at suicide rates and things, it's very high in divorced men. It's very high in, like, guys that are in certain things like military and trades and that kind of thing, construction, because you bust your ass and you do all the things right, and then it all comes crashing down. And I'd like to save you from that hurt, and save you from that ledge, because it's avoidable. And there's more important things in life to live for. And yeah, hopefully hopefully I can make an impact on people. I try to, next time I talk about this, I'm gonna try to have maybe some notes and shit. Maybe actually prepare for it a little bit. But yeah, I wanted to make sure I got this one out a little early because yeah, I know there's lots of young dudes out there that are raring to go. They raring to meet women, but yeah, there's, take it easy. You got time. All right. Anyways, that's it for now. Delta out.